What your brain does at 3 a.m. and the one command that uses it to change everything. Something happens to you in the dark, not the dramatic kind of dark, not a crisis with a name, just the ordinary dark of 3 a.m. when the house is quiet and your mind is not, and something in you starts to move that you cannot quite explain during the day. You already know this. You have felt it. That is why you are here tonight. There is a moment, a single, silent moment, when the walls between what is seen and what is possible become thinner than paper. And you are standing in that moment right now. Not tomorrow, not after one more try. Right now, in this room, in this quiet. Let that land, because what I am about to tell you is not a technique. It is not a method. It is a biological and spiritual truth that most people live their entire lives without being shown. And the reason you have not seen results, the reason the affirmations felt flat and the prayers felt like they dissolved before they reached the ceiling, is not because something is wrong with you. It is because no one ever told you when your mind becomes a door, and what to say when it opens. How many mornings have you opened your eyes and felt the weight before the light even registered? Not a dramatic weight, just that low, familiar heaviness that whispers today will be exactly like yesterday. You pressed through it, you got up, you showed up, you tried to believe things were shifting, and then you lay down again at night not quite sure they were. That is not weakness. That is not a lack of faith. That is what happens when someone is doing the right thing at the wrong hour with the wrong understanding of how the mind actually works. You have been praying in a closed room. Tonight, I am going to show you where the door is. Here is what neuroscience has confirmed, and what ancient spiritual teachers knew long before the science arrived. Between the hours of approximately 2 a.m. and 4 a.m., your brain undergoes a chemical shift. The prefrontal cortex, the part that argues, doubts, calculates risk, and protects the ego, drops into a significantly lower state of activity. The critical filter that stands between your conscious thought and your subconscious programming becomes, for a short window, almost transparent. This is not metaphor. This is measurable. Scientists call it the hypnagogic adjacent state. Joseph Murphy called it the threshold of the infinite. Neville Goddard called it the golden moment between sleeping and waking when assumption becomes fact. Different languages, same door. And here is what no one told you. Your brain does not stop receiving during this window. It starts receiving more. Every thought that moves through you in those hours goes in deeper and stays longer than thoughts you think at noon. The subconscious in those hours is not asleep. It is wide open and writing. So the question is not whether your brain is listening at 3 a.m. The question is what you have been saying to it. Most people lie awake in those hours running the same mental film. The conversation that did not go right, the bill that came too early, the relationship that cooled before it ever fully warmed, the career that stalled while someone less qualified moved forward. And they replay it not because they enjoy the pain, but because the mind in that state has no filter for what is real and what is rehearsal. It absorbs whatever you show it. This is why some people feel like they are living the same year on repeat. They are. Just not consciously. I want to introduce you to a concept. I am going to call it the 3 a.m. director. The 3 a.m. director is the part of you that runs the projector while the gatekeeper sleeps. Every night, this director cues up the most emotionally charged footage you gave it during the day and plays it into the deepest layers of your identity. If that footage is fear, the identity solidifies around fear. If that footage is lack, the subconscious begins to organize your outer life around lack. Not because you chose it, because you did not know to choose differently. You were directing without knowing you were in the booth. Tonight, that changes. There is a woman I want to tell you about. Her name was Margaret. She was 54 years old, and she lived in a small house in Edinburgh that she had once shared with a life she no longer recognized. Her marriage had ended quietly, the kind of ending that does not happen in a moment, but over years of small distances. Her savings had been steadily drained by a business that tried and failed. Her children were grown and scattered. And every night, she told me later, she would wake at some point past 2 in the morning and lie in that darkness not crying. She had passed the point of crying, but simply calculating what was left, like an accountant taking stock of a company that was failing. She had read the books, she believed in something greater, but belief felt like a coat she could not quite button. It warmed her sometimes, but the cold still got in. She came across one idea, one sentence, spoken by a woman who had studied how declarations work on the nervous system, not affirmations spoken into a mirror, not hopeful wishes aimed at the ceiling, but declarations. Commands issued from the knowing place, not the hoping place. And that sentence was this: I now step into the life that has already been prepared for me. It appears within 24 hours by divine law. She did not shout it. She did not stand in front of a mirror. She lay in her bed at 3 a.m. in the dark, and she said it out loud, slowly, into the room. And then she said it again. And then she breathed, and she let herself feel, not pretend to feel, but actually reach for the feeling of a door opening. A real door. Hinges and light, and the smell of something different on the other side. She did this for 3 nights. On the morning of the 3rd day, she received a phone call from a solicitor she had not spoken to in 11 years. A property dispute from her mother's estate, something she had assumed was lost, had been resolved. The settlement was not a fortune, but it was enough. It was the exact amount that would have covered 6 months of breathing room. She did not know what to say. The solicitor almost apologized for taking so long. She stood in her kitchen in Edinburgh and looked out at a garden she had stopped looking at, and she said to herself, quietly, I knew it was coming. She had not known it was coming, but in those 3 nights, something in her had shifted from asking to knowing. And that shift, that tiny interior tectonic movement, had changed the frequency she was broadcasting. And something moved in response. I now step into the life that has already been prepared for me. It appears within 24 hours by divine law. Say it slowly, say it out loud, right now, in this room, in this quiet. Let it move through you like something warm and inevitable. This is not magic, it is law. And let me show you the 3 laws that explain exactly why it works. The first is the law of assumption. Neville Goddard wrote about this throughout his life, the idea that consciousness is the only reality, and that what you assume to be true about yourself becomes the mold into which your experience is poured. He was not speaking poetically. He was describing a mechanism. The subconscious mind cannot distinguish between a vividly assumed state and an experienced one. When you assume, not hope, not wish, but assume that the life prepared for you is already real, the subconscious begins organizing your perception, your attention, and your actions around that assumption. Doors open that you did not knock on. People appear at the right moment. Things resolve with a smoothness that logic cannot account for. The second is the law of divine timing. Isaiah 65:24 says this, Before they call, I will answer, and while they are still speaking, I will hear. This is not comfort language. This is a description of how the spiritual field operates. The answer is not delayed because the supply is withheld. The answer is delayed because the receiver is not yet tuned to the frequency of the answer. The declaration, spoken with feeling, in the right window, at the right hour, is not a signal sent upward. It is a tuner. You are not petitioning. You are aligning. The third is the law of accelerated demonstration. Florence Scovel Shinn wrote that there is always a shortcut. The shortcut is never effort. The shortcut is always faith made specific. Vague desire disperses like smoke. Specific declaration crystallizes like water into ice. The moment you name the 24 hours, not soon, not someday, but within 24 hours, your nervous system engages differently. A real deadline creates neurological urgency. The brain stops drifting and starts watching. And what the brain watches for, it begins to see. This is the reticular activating system, your brain's relevance filter, suddenly calibrated to a specific frequency. Things that were always there begin to appear. These 3 laws are not separate. They are one law seen from 3 angles. And the 3 a.m. window is when all three become most available. If you have ever lain awake at night feeling like the universe had a list of people it was getting around to and your name kept getting skipped, write this in the comments right now. Because I want you to know you are not alone in this room tonight. And if something in the last few minutes has settled in you, not like a new idea, but like a quiet recognition of something you always knew but could not say, tap like. It tells me you are still open to this frequency. Now let me show you what to do tonight. Not as steps, as an experience. You are lying in your bed. The room is dark. The house is quiet. Your body is still. You have been awake for a few minutes. Maybe the clock reads somewhere past 2, maybe closer to 3. The gatekeeper is drowsy. The door is thin. This is not the time to review the day. This is not the time to calculate what is missing. This is the time to step through. You breathe slowly. 3 breaths, deep enough to feel your belly rise and fall. You let your shoulders release. You let your jaw soften. And then you speak, quietly, not to the ceiling, but to the part of you that is always listening deeper than your ears can hear. I now step into the life that has already been prepared for me. It appears within 24 hours by divine law. And then you do something that requires nothing but willingness. You imagine, not visualize with effort, not force a picture, but let yourself feel the after. The feeling you would have the morning the thing you have been waiting for finally arrives. Not the thing itself, the feeling, the exhale, the quiet that comes when relief is real, the sensation in your chest of something loosening that has been tight for too long. Hold that feeling. Don't think about it. Feel it. Let your body know it as memory, not hope. Isaiah 30:21 says, "Whether you turn to the right or to the left, your ears will hear a voice behind you saying, 'This is the way, walk in it.' The voice does not speak in noise. The voice speaks in the still places. In the 3 a.m. places where the critical mind has finally gone quiet and the deeper truth can be heard. Let sleep take you into that feeling. Let it carry what you have planted into the deeper soil. The subconscious does not sleep. It works, it processes, it restructures. And what you give it at the threshold of sleep is what it works with through all the hours you are unaware. By morning, the signal has gone deeper than any daytime prayer could reach. And the field responds not to what you said, but to what you felt when you said it. This is why some people seem to receive without effort. It is not luck, it is frequency. They have learned, sometimes without knowing they learned it, to feel the answer before the answer arrives, and so the answer comes toward what already matches it. You are not broken. You were never broken. You were operating a sophisticated instrument with no instruction manual. That ends tonight. If this feels true in you tonight, write this in the comments and let your own words witness you. I am stepping into the life that has already been prepared for me, and it is arriving within 24 hours by divine law. Write the whole sentence. Let your own hands type what your heart is ready to claim. There is power in witnessing yourself in public. There is power in saying, out loud, to other people, "I believe this for myself." The moment you write it, you are no longer watching. You are participating. And participation is where transformation actually begins. Now, I want to give you a sacred assignment, not a suggestion, a contract you are entering with yourself. For the next 3 days, speak this declaration 4 times each day. Once upon waking, before you speak to anyone else or look at your phone. Once at midday, quietly, wherever you are, in your car, in the bathroom, in the break room with the door half closed. Once before sunset, standing at a window if you can, looking at the light. And once at the edge of sleep, in the dark, in the quiet, with your body still and your voice low. 4 times, 3 days, 12 declarations total. Do not evaluate whether it is working after day 1. The seed does not sprout the moment it is planted, but it is already doing what seeds do, beneath the surface, in the dark, where growth always begins. And the 3 a.m. window is the deepest soil there is. Tonight matters more than you have allowed yourself to believe, because here is what no book will tell you plainly. You are not waiting for your life to change. Your life is waiting for you to change the signal. Right now, not after the next disappointment confirms it is not working, not after you prove yourself worthy. Now, the prepared life is not a reward. It is already real in the spiritual field, which Neville Goddard called the fourth dimensional reality, the place where everything that will ever manifest already exists, waiting only for the matching inner state to pull it through. You are not building something from nothing. You are aligning yourself with something that already has your name on it. I now step into the life that has already been prepared for me. It appears within 24 hours by divine law. Say it again. Say it out loud, right now, in whatever room you are in. Not to the screen, to yourself, to the version of you that is about to stop waiting and start knowing. The 3 a.m. window is open. The gatekeeper is quiet. The soil is ready. This is not a moment to drift through. This is the moment you have been moving toward through every disappointment, every delay. Every morning, you opened your eyes and chose to keep going anyway. All of it was preparation. All of it was the path. And here, right here, in this room, at this hour, the path ends and the door begins. Joseph Murphy wrote, "Your subconscious mind does not argue with you. It accepts what your conscious mind decrees. It is the law of your mind. It does not question. It does not resist. It simply receives what you hand it and makes it real. You have spent long enough handing it fear in the dark. Tonight you hand it something different. Tonight you hand it a knowing, a certainty, a quiet, unshakable sense that the life prepared for you is not theoretical. It is real. It is close. It is arriving. And it is arriving within 24 hours by divine law. I now step into the life that has already been prepared for me. It appears within 24 hours by divine law. This is not the end of the script. This is the beginning of something else. Something that does not have a name yet because you have not lived it yet. But you will. It is done. Not someday. Not when the conditions improve. Not when you finally feel ready. Now. In this room, in this dark, in this silence that is not empty, it is full of everything that has already been prepared for you. Go to sleep tonight not as someone waiting. Go as someone who has already claimed what is theirs. The door is open. Walk through. If this felt like it was written for you, because in a deeper way it was, welcome home to Healing Love Space.